I'm going to give some background information on Telerik and Fiddler. I'm going to talk about when to use Telerik Fiddler, how does it work, some common scenarios, and go over the installation and use cases. So what exactly is Telerik Fiddler? So Fiddler was initially developed by Eric Lawrence, who was a Microsoft employee, and he was part of the Clipper team. And one thing that he realized was there used to be a lot of issues with call-ins with clients who couldn't download Clipper for whatever reason. It was really hard to debug exactly why they were not able to download the program. So he developed Fiddler in his spare time, and it was eventually acquired by Telerik in 2012. So it is a web tracing and debugging tool, monitors, inspects, edits, and logs all HTTPS traffic. It allows analysis of incoming and outgoing data to monitor and modify requests and responses before they actually hit the browser. But it's used quite extensively to test the performance of websites or security threats while testing website applications. So what are debugging tools? Debugging is essentially the system that software developers use to systematically find and resolve problems and errors within a program. So these debugging tools are very useful when you want to diagnose issues in applications that make a lot of requests, especially to the server over the internet. So how exactly does it work? So HTTP or Hypertext Transfer Protocol is the reason why we can communicate or send data to the website every time we visit a URL such as Google or YouTube. An example of HTTP requests that are made, typically you have verbs such as get, which is when you have a get request, you want to retrieve some information. You have head, you have post when you want to post information over the internet. You have pull when you want to do updates. You have delete, trace, options, connect, patch, which are typical API requests. So most of this HTTP traffic travels over TCP. When a URL is typed, it opens up the socket by default of 80 and writes data to it. The TCP layer on the receiving end accepts the data and ensures that it's delivered to the server to ensure the communication channel. So a lot of tools such as Wireshark, for example, the network sniffing tools, they examine the streams of data or packets that flow between computers on the network. The difference with Fiddler is that you actually it uses the browser's proxy configuration in order to intercept traffic, and you can intercept traffic across different browser platforms such as Mozilla, Firefox, because by default it looks for whatever ports are open, but you actually have to set the configuration in order for it to pass through and be tracked by Fiddler. So typical scenarios where you'd use Fiddler is website development and debugging, inspecting HTTPS traffic, capturing system traffic, doing any pre-configured browser capturing, doing a detailed traffic analysis, doing your mocking of your requests and responses, and also when composing APIs. So here we have the installation. So if I click this, it'll bring you up to the Fiddler page. So all you have to do is just put in your email. You'll be able to download the free version for Windows. So I already have mine installed, so I'm going to go ahead and fire it up. So one thing you want to make sure to do is to run it as administrator, because sometimes the VPN processes might block certain traffic or networking from happening. Okay, so here I have my Fiddler open. So one thing you'll notice is we have sessions here to the left. To the right, we have a different set of tabs that let us perform different actions. So in order to start capturing sessions, I'm going to go ahead and visit my Mozilla browser here. So I have Reddit open. I'm just going to refresh this page. And if we go back to Fiddler, we see it starts capturing those different sessions. So your typical browser request has about 150 sessions that get generated. So if I scroll down to one of these sessions, we open up one of the 200 requests. So on the right here, we see the different statistics. So we have the bytes sent, we have the bytes received. So if we want to do it for all the requests, I can come here and highlight. See the total number of requests are about 122. So we have the bytes sent, we have the bytes received, we have the different response codes that got generated. Typically we want 200 response codes. We scroll all the way down. We even have the chart. So on this chart we can see the different media that was being sent. So most of it here was MP4, and we have a little bit of HTML and JSON as well. Another tab that's useful is the Inspector tab. So if I click and look for one Reddit file here, go all the way to the top. So here on the right we have the headers. So this is the request header. At the bottom is the response header. So for this particular request, we can view different tabs. So for the request, we have the typical header view. So this shows us the cache, the client. See, we have cookies on there. We have security. We have the transport. We have the host. If we want to see it in JSON, we can go over to the JSON tab. There's also an XML tab. We have the raw tab, so this gives us the raw information that was sent. You can even see the hex view, so this gives us a more detailed view. And we have the similar tabs for the response. So if I scroll this up, you see these are the response headers that we got back. So we have the cache, we have the entity, we have the security, we have the transport. So there's a couple of different type of views. So if we had images that appear there, with the hex view, which is the data, we have the raw view. This gives us a little bit more detail. If we scroll in, we can see the connection, the cache, security, protocols. If we wanted to see the JSON data, we would see it on there. So another useful tab is the autoresponder tab. So this becomes useful when we want to simulate something on the client side, but not specifically on the server side. So we can set up an autoresponder to sort of mimic the server. So this is useful in cases where it's offline, or we just want to test a request from the client side. Another useful tab is Composer. So what Composer does is it allows us to drag and drop a session that we already have open. So for example, I can drag and drop this in here, modify my request, and immediately I modify, I can execute. See the different scenarios. Another useful tool is the Fiddler script. So the Fiddler script is useful when you want to extend the capabilities of Fiddler. So this is good for extension developers, or if you have a script that you want to use, it's not really supported by Fiddler, you can write your own code, save and execute it using Fiddler script. On top here we have the different rules, so you can adjust, make automatic breakpoints, you can have your customized rules. So here you customize rules, you can create a bunch of different rules. By default, Fiddler has this rules in here, but you can always extend this. Up top we also have the log, so the log just records all the information and all the warnings that might be associated with your requests and all the port information. So here you have your session timelines, and here we have filters. So currently I don't have any filters on here, but if you wanted to use filters, you could come and select your filters. It shows certain specific hosts or certain internet hosts, and have certain hosts hidden as well. Alright, so going back, that is how you'll be able to use Fiddler. I added some resources as well, so once you download and install it, they have really good documentation.